I'm Amol K Patil. I'm from Bombay, India. My grandfather is a scriptwriter and performer, and my grandfather is a poet. It's called Povada art form. And I use both of archival to develop my projects because it's really interesting. I feel always I think about and carry with me all this community conversation to using this archival to developing as a visual art form. And now I'm here in Gothenburg to developing new projects to looking relation from this Bombay, but looking relation from this conversation about this European atmosphere also to how I'm looking these architecture spaces to connecting things Bombay and Indian history also, developing the new thought of process. Yeah.
Amol Patil, welcome to Röda Sten Konsthall. I would like to start with my first encounter with your practice that happened at Documenta 15. I didn't know you. I knew about you. When I saw the exhibition, the presentation, I must say I was so enchanted by its beauty, also the poetical aspects of your practice, but also like the immense complexity as well. So I was calling around to ask for a prompt meeting and introduction to you. What happened with your practice and art since 2022 until now?
I'm really happy you contact me. It was really amazing to having, we just start conversation after document. No, just between document only, we start conversation. The Rang Rupa also invite me from the document and giving me freedom to work that scale because I don't think so I worked that scale before. Never, yeah. I don't think so. I always work really small scale to just different storyline to making really small relation between this each installation. But it's nice to because they are also artists, curators. To how they're seeing artists to know they can work as a freely, giving that freedom. And I was really happy for that because I also work as that freely to know I can experiment how I'm working with this whole time period of to using these archival relations to. So I thought I can use that the one line of thought to explain everything to present nicely to create that theatrical relation also. And that changed me a lot to using that whole process because it's getting me more comfortable position and responsibility also to how I can each time to create conversation to to explaining whole idea about this community and theatrical relation with this script using archival from family and other poets and writers also.
Can you say a little bit about this family archive?
I started art practice around 2011, 2010-11. But when I had a first solo show in 2013, and I know that the show is really, I always feel it's kind of one surface. When I did that show, I don't think so it's more informative than anything. I feel it's just the one side of conversation. And after that, I'm having conversation with my brother. And then I found my father's script. And I started reading about this whole script. And I feel it's so different conversation. It's so interesting because why these are conversations so serious. These are why serious. The scripts are quite serious. It's look like all real stories to know how he described. And then I thought I think I should visit spaces where he worked with a lot of people he has a group, a theater group. They work together as a collectively, and I started going these places to having conversation with my father friends, which they're working with my father, and then there are still young people who using this all old script to remaking new dialogue. And it was just fun to learning, and it's nice to hearing that idea to know how they're using this script and how they're using this all thoughts also to where they're living actually, and how they're living life also to using this material.
It's not just a family archive because you use it to tell a wider story and to also point to the collective experience of the community that you've just mentioned, which is Dalit, the lowest caste that you belong to. So can you expand this family archive in this regard?
When I read first time my father's scripts, and then I started reading my grandfather poetries, and these two things is so different time period of the conversation, because grandfather poetries are before independent, and he has a poetry about, of course, the community, Dalit conversation poetries, and but his poetry, the art form is called povada, and povada is basically the traveler. They perform different places. 2 minutes they ask question, and last 1 minute they say answer also. So it's really loud. And they started using that art form as a protest also. So there are two type of poetry he written about the community and against to British people also, because of the colonization time period. And when I started reading my father's script, is around he started reading around 70, after 75. So there are a lot of script about living people on city, a lot of people who moved to village to city. There are meal workers of script about, there are sanitized workers who are living in city, asylum people living together. So there are a lot of script about this labor community, who people who come from this lower caste, and the conversation about the struggling conversation of the labor community. And then I realized this all both archival. I should go back more to history, because why this conversation is so kind of important also. And then I started reading Ambedkar, who the first person who he started having conversation about the caste politics. He started supporting about the caste politics because he also come from, and he studied outside of India, and then he come back to India, and then he started having conversation to protest, to having questioning to government, to know we need that freedom between the colonization time period. He's asking of the low caste freedom also. So I think this three conversation for me is really interesting, because past, present and future. I know future I can't change, but I think I can try to raise my voice to different way, because this three act is really different for me, because Ambedkar has a voice. He did amazing writing skills. He did a lot of amazing protests, which I always feel is more performative, which he create for his community. Then when I'm seeing my grandfather archival and performing, which I always feel right now, I'm also that Povada person, as a feeling, that idea, because which I'm traveling to performing for 100 days, performing for 2 months for different city, to performing new people. I think I also feel sometimes as a Povada person to carry all community conversation. And when I see my father's script, it's really interesting to me when there are always this, he write dialogue, the character, but the dialogue between, there are comma section always, he mentioned light, expressions, body language. And for me, it's really interesting how I can imagine this archival body language to express with these objects and drawing. So it's kind of modifying me to using this three generation conversation to looking my generation relation to how we can find own way where we are going and possibilities.
And just as a footnote, Dr. Ambedkar, that you mentioned, is so important for your practice and also for the whole Dalit caste. And it's still a battle, and it's a position to be Dalit. And it was a political figure. So he had a place from which he could, and he advocated and inspired different civic and social movements. And also to mention that he was a law and justice minister in the 40s and in the beginning of the 50s in India. So you really refer to a figure, to the institution, so to say, that is still the biggest inspiration, somehow a wind in your back to the whole community to continue. That there is always this social and political clear position.
Yeah.
This it's never, which I think it's most fantastic thing. It's never directly exposed. But once you delve into the story, into the script that is, as you said, also in the basis of your work and the performative practice of it, you actually get to know more and more layers, and how important your position now in the art world to have this voice for the community.
Yeah.
And I also have an experience that you advocate very strongly for the community.
I started working with Clark House 2012. I feel we always call as a union. No, and that's what we started actually Clark House, the conversation also, because Clark House is more, we are making that space also for open for everyone. The students actually can feel free to be in that space, and that space is giving you a lot of comfortable environment to people. Young people also can join and do together something, different collaboration, and few people coming from really hardcore sculptor, drawing based, there are few people are really good with the editing. So we started helping each other to not, because it's so expensive to doing production, and to hiring people. We are helping each other to how we collaborate different way, basically. And that's learned me a lot, I think, I'm still using the same process of a lot, because after working with Documenta, I collaborate also a lot of people. I collaborate one of this younger group from Bombay, Yalga Sanskrit Kalamanch. So I share with them my grandfather poetries. We re-record, and to use that poetry. They write new poetries, and that poetry also I use with my installation. So it's really interesting, fun also to collaborating with your own people, your own community. There are always these videos and the scripts are also, as always I feel, is collaborating, And I think the whole installation, the sculptures, drawing, you can see, I always feel it's not individual platform I'm making. It's just more involving everyone to know, it's exchanging all thought. So that's helped me a lot as a Clark House to build, to learn.
And I'm mentioning it because your friends and colleagues and peers from Clark House, some of them are included in this process.
Yes.
As well.
Yeah.
And lending to this space, and you got a residency also here from Jaspis.
Yeah.
How was the experience with the residency and this opportunity, and how much also this period of time helped you to get even closer in developing the conversations for this exhibition?
I remember when I arrived in November, I'm not doing anything, almost 15 days. I'm just sitting, nothing working, anything. I'm just thinking about what should I do for this exhibition, because I started already making sculptures for this exhibition, but I'm struggling with the drawings. It's so challenging space. Now I'm just looking this whole, hearing from you also to know that space initially was a hospital. And then suddenly after 15, 16 days, I thought, I come up with this new idea of the drawings. I can use as to how I can, seeing the space also as a older history, heritage, to unfinished structure and everything. I think, that's slowly I come up this, started making rough sketches. And I just, hopefully I can, hopefully the drawing will be work well in this space. So I think it's really nice to be in an Aspie studio also, to know just to being little bit time to understanding, to learning, to what I can do also as a change, not changing exactly, but it's kind of developing process,
Just to mention that for Jaspis residency in Gothenburg, they use Konstepidemien studios that you were talking about, which is a former epidemic hospital.
Yeah.
I think it was so valuable as an experience that your studio in this period was precisely in that space,
Yeah.
and then finding yourself coming to this space every day of Röda Sten, which is this post-industrial former boiler house,
Yeah.
as you say, a place which has a history. Those layers are definitely part of the new production that we're gonna see here in the exhibition.
Yeah.
So there is a conversation, so to say, that is first and foremost connected to different aspects of architecture.
Yeah.
Those that are coming from the experience
Yeah.
of Gothenburg that I've just mentioned, but the major critical point of this architecture is based on your experience growing up nearby Chal, a social housing that was built for industrial workers coming from the villages to the cities, and your experience is based on Bombay,
Yeah.
today Mumbai, where you come from.
Yeah. Yeah.
So can you expand on the concept of Chal and how it entered the
Yeah.
main
Chawl-
space of the exhibition?
Yeah, yeah. I think the chawl is kind of chawl means basically small housing, and a lot of people who can live one building actually. One floor, almost 32 rooms, 30 rooms, and it's really tiny houses. The people who come from the villages, they move there because it's working for these meal jobs and cleaning jobs, and but it's really different people, different. It's kind of mostly coming from the Maharashtra, but Marathi language, but of course it's different tone of language to different idea of this cooking style also. But when they're living one building, when they're started living on that one floor, it's really become a new community to know. They started knowing each other, they started helping each other to know, because there is no privacy. And chawl is kind of really interesting concept also, because there are lot of chawls converted from prison. Because initially when colonization time period, the Britishers actually created prison, and after that converted to government occupy this all prisons and converted to housing society. But it's really amazing history, because it's after government occupy is declared there's a heritage, but now there is no sense of heritage because they're demolishing. And when I've been here to see again this Aspis Consul Academy space, and then I'm visiting this space also, I'm just having that feeling to know how that space is getting me nostalgia to know where I grew up in Bombay area, to seeing this all meal, and seeing this all heritage spaces, to know that reaction of this texture of this brick walls, texture of this concrete to know unfinished texture, to create that nostalgia to know to time period of that, just where how I grew up and seen this kind of mill workers protest to using this all older architecture spaces where they want to find to having this protest relation to how they build the conversation and the city.
You created two major architecture stage-like constructions for the main space of so-called cathedral. So there is a frontal side of this architecture, and there is also some kind of a backstage.
When I started thinking about to making this artificial space between this interesting heritage space, it's kind of, because it's kind of using that funny idea from this this heritage places from Bombay now, meals and this BDD chawl, because it's converting to modern buildings, converted to modern meal places, and I little bit use that sense to how I'm using this making podium to making this kind of breakable architecture spaces to create that inside of part of this housing areas, but this kind of one side is creating more idea about this theatrical platform. So it's a kind of two-way platform to creating, because because where the people who working on these areas in sanitized places early morning, and when they're working on the theater practice. So it's a kind of both way to know how where they live and where they perform. So it's a two body of work to how they use every day, and so that's why I thought I can create that kind of relation with this modern, but shape is kind of coming from this reference where they live, but and how they use. So that's why I try to thinking about to how to make that podium to know two-way conversation, to making dialogue between one person, yeah, dialogue between the whole community who working as a two personality job basically.
And then in the podiums, there are different stories.
Yeah.
Based on the script
Yeah.
That you wrote,
Yeah.
inspired by a book that talks about the slavery and the colonial times,
Yeah.
as you mentioned.
Oh, yeah.
But then on top of these stories that you created,
Yeah.
there are different expressions
Yeah.
from, you say, dusty bronze sculptures
Yeah.
to drawings, and then the new video works, text-based work, sounds, light, all the elements that you introduce in the beginning of this conversation that were there in Documenta, other exhibitions, they are included also in this interpretation in this chapter. And I would like that you say a couple of words about dusty sculptures and their connection to the labor.
Yeah, I think sculpture. No, I always really interested to making know that unfinished dusty sculpture, because it's making that idea about this racism conversation to caste conversation, and this kind of I always had this idea too, because in India past always people have this relation about the untouchability, and when I think about these sculptures making this story dialogue between to making this sculpture also, but always I try to keep as a unfinished to create that really hard skin texture on that bronze patina, because I always try to make that relation as a hybrid sculpture but untouchable part of this upper caste and lower caste relation. They always say untouchable to lower caste people because they normally work for because they work in open space sunlight, so their skin is getting darker also. So because of that, they have this untouchable. Basically, they always say to them their dirtiest body. Basically, so that's the word come from this untouchable lower caste people. Basically, yeah.
So you cannot speak about caste without speaking about class. Your family, they were workers, and but at the same time, they were very educated people. They were people doing art and performing through generations, so that the question of class, it's so complicated, especially in these severe neoliberal times. It's not only to take into the consideration the type of the labor that one performs, but also the whole structure on which the class is built. Absolutely hierarchical and discriminatory system.
Yeah.
You speak in this exhibition and show one very direct work. It's a holographic video that the visitors can see on the third floor of this exhibition hall. It's called Let's Clean Our Hands.
Yeah.
So can you say a couple of words about that work?
It's not holographic, but it's created holographic whole process, because that work actually, I'm reading one of this Ambedkar protest. He had this protest in 1927 called Mahad Satyagraha protest. It's kind of Mahad river, and if lower caste drink that water, they will just beat them because they touch that water. But then Ambedkar had this idea too. He had a protest with a lot of people, and they went there, they drink that water. After they touch that water, and how the upper caste purify the whole river, So they put cow dung, cow urine, different type of ashes, some leaves. they put everything inside of this river and then declare now is the whole river is purified. Okay, then now we can drink again. But this is all process how people are making fool each other to know just putting cow dung, cow urine, and you are saying now it's a purify. And then I'm reading one of my father's script where there are a lot of people who working on this sanitized area in Grant Road area, and a lot of people don't allow them to give water from hotel. Bus people don't allow them to enter because of your smelly body, because you are working there and you're going to that bus. So it's really funny because he's protecting, he's cleaning your shit, And so that's I had this idea to how the person, and then the glass ideas also come from this class and caste class system, because steel from always is lower working class people, and the glass is only upper caste system. So it's that I use that idea about to making this holographic video. It's funny way to how I can react on this system basically. Yeah, it's really interesting because we are using video from Gonju Binale, but I add painting also for as a new way, new for our exhibition, because I feel it's kind of that video is I'm referring one of this book from Thousand Hands and Thousand Voices, one of the interesting book in from this Bombay mill workers. And I'm using a lot of interviews from that book, and then I create this narration for the whole script. But there are a lot of people who help me that video, the script, Poonam and Yogesh, who shoot and document and edit also that video. And there's we are 12 people who perform for that video also. It's really fun how we collaborate also. But the whole when I started thinking about that video, basically the start from whole script, because I want to create that narration. There is one mythology story also, one of this elephant god, it's a monkey god called Hanuman. He was young, it's a really old mythology story. He was young and he was really hungry, and when he come out from his house, he saw sun, and then he thought sun is fruit, and then he want to eat that sun, and he just started going nearby to catching that sun to eat. But then slowly when he going close by that sun, he started burning his skin. Okay, and he never reached to that sun. And the same thing when I'm reading this whole material, where a lot of people who move to village to city, they don't want to, but before they're doing different activities. They're farmers. They're doing for different type of surviving, different type of stuff. But it's not easy to survive in this farming. So the people who wanted the city people, they wanted a lot of labor. They went to places to asking them to know there are a lot of big job, you can earn a lot of money. Then after that you can go back and you can again do your farming to know whenever you have a lot of money. People thought it's really interesting to go and you can after that come back, and that relation is quite nice. But when they thought it's someone giving them that brightness, someone giving that sunlight, they thought it will be we can reach to that brightness and they follow that brightness, but they never reach to that brightness, because the conversation when they reach to city, they started working for this mill job, but after that a lot of mill shut down. They started having protests. Almost 40 years they couldn't get the salary, and they never go back to village because they're stuck there. They don't have money to go back also, and they're still having conversation because they're asking them 40 years salary. But now people are going also. Now it's going dying. It's kind of, but at least generation where they are still asking the places where they can live. So that's I had this idea about this video, because to finding way reaching to brightness, but it's kind of conversation they never reach to that brightness.
And there are a lot of contrasts that you use in this example that you mentioned. Is this black backdrop, very heavy against this bright light, fireworks elements happening in the video, in the paintings too. But then that these contrasts that you create using the very simple bulb
Yeah, I think that light also really always inspired me to know scene from this childhood, scene from these areas where this chawl people who chawl in a lot of people who use these bulb lights because they're really interesting. This atmosphere where this there is one game called carom. People using this hanging bulb light. Then there is a person, we are using that reference drawing also on our exhibition, the person who working doing this iron shop, and he also using that hanging bulb light. Then there are a lot of children who's playing around, so it's kind of really dramatical. I see always this light also create that atmosphere. And again, no, it's just inspired from this theatrical background also, because this always this warm light focus on this character to create that drama to know is kind of. And always I feel is really interesting to whenever I do installation, I always try to each painting, sculptures, drawing, I feel it's character for me to using that spotlight, the performing own spaces, the performing these architecture spaces to know how the body transforming basically. So I think that's, I feel it's using I think important light is really important by work. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Amila.